This is where we hold them. This is where we fight.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Rob, what's good, homie?
What's up, Mike? A lot going on right now. I'm trying to wrap my head around all the news in the bowling world, but man, there is, for a non-PBA layoff, there's a decent amount of shit going on in the bowling world. So I was just kind of I got like 9 windows open right now, like reading on shit to like try to sound like I know what the hell I'm talking about when we do the show. So Mike, what's good with you, man? What's happening? I saw you bowled some shit. I kind of feel like you didn't bowl very well from a lot of your social media posts. I saw Joey Pants bowl good, man. Short pattern, long pattern. Kid can't lose right now, huh?
I don't know. Where do you want me to start, bro? I don't even know.
It don't have to be long, man. You know, I just, I know.
I could do a whole show. I could do a whole show on
I don't want a whole show.
I know.
There's too much going on.
Neither do I. Let me be clear. Neither do I.
There's too much going on this week. There's a love triangle.
You're referring. Oh yeah, it's a banging week in bowling content, right? For the slow part of the bowling season, we got a lot of content.
It is.
All right, so you're referring to the Greg Tack tournament that I bowled on Saturday.
Plural. I know you bowled Saturday, but he had
listen, and I want people to know that 90% of what I say on this show, I have already said to the people that I am talking about when I'm on the show. All right, so don't think that I come on here and say things on this show that I haven't already said to the people that I'm talking about, because I don't do things that way. Terrible decision by Greg Tack to run a dual tournament event on Father's Day weekend. Okay? I mean, just shit decision. Okay? And I told him that. All right? Like, who can come bowl on Father's Day? You can, Palooza can. You can. And let me tell you something. Whenever you're in the company of Palooza in the same category as him, that's not a good thing, Rob. You're flexing over there, but that's not a good thing, okay?
Unless you're in the winner's circle like he
That's right. Unless you're talking about
tournament.
wins in bowling. You're right about that. So
he hates dads.
No,
Greg,
Nico was asking if Greg has a family. No, he's a young dude. He's not that far at that point in life yet. But really, like, who can bowl on Father's Day if you're a dad? Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to tell my kids, oh, well, Daddy decided to go bowl today. That's what I want to do for Father's Day.
Daddy's going 200. Daddy's going 200 under.
Tonight. Yeah, see you at 7 o'clock tonight, so I could go hack it up all over the place. But let's be clear, like, even if I was the favorite, I still wouldn't be going. So yeah, just not a good decision for him to run a dual event on Father's Day. But this event was at Bolero Turnersville, which used to be Brunswick Cross Keys Lanes back in the day, for anybody local. And Rob, the bowling center is only about 40 minutes from AC. Okay, and I told them next year, let's not run it on Father's Day. Okay. And then let's get a group of people together who want to bowl the tournament on Saturday, go to AC Saturday night, nice dinner, little gambling, little sports book, hanging out, then get up Sunday, leave AC, come bowl the second tournament. Because that would be a great weekend. I would really enjoy myself that weekend. I feel like I might even be able to convince you to fly out if you were bowling for that weekend.
It's tempting.
little night at the Borgata, little dinner, little steakhouse maybe. But hey, Bob in the chat saying, "Now that's weekend. Yo, you want in, Hoss? me and Phil Drum are the two people, and Greg Tack are the three people that are in for next year. So if you want to join that list, let me know. So yeah, I decided to go bowl Saturday. I couldn't bowl Sunday, and Greg runs this every year, same weekend. It is a friction marathon and a frictionless marathon. Okay, so what?
Sounds miserable.
Oh, son,
Miserable. I saw the scores. I saw the shot.
son,
Nightmare.
you have no idea. I mean, unless you bowled on it. Oh my God.
Before it's nasty.
Oh my God, dude, they were so hard, bro.
Yeah, bowl on that. It's like if you miss left, you fall off a cliff to the left, and even the urethane, like it's hard to control the back ends. And if you miss right, it's flat, so the ball never hooks. So it's very hard. And I saw the way
and like 1-2 was out of bounds.
Yeah.
You hit 1-2.
Yeah.
You hit 3, maybe even. You were going in.
Yeah.
The ball was just falling off a cliff right in the gut. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of a more extreme version of the World Team Challenge patterns that you used to see back in the day.
I mean,
like those reverse blocks. You know, now they're out of bounds. I would say was a little more defined. It was probably further out on those patterns, and they probably had a more length and probably more volume in the front part of the lane that allowed you to kind of play the middle of the lane. But man, oh my God, they were so hard, bro.
Yeah,
they were so hard. So I forget the exact parameters of what we were bowling on, but I think it was like 25 feet. Yeah,
flat, right.
Flat, 1-to-1
ratio, right?
Yeah, and it was just
nasty shit right there. Spare shooting.
Actually, I should go into my my text and I should take a look.
The key to being successful on that pattern is to be able to leave makeable spares. Honestly, that's the key to winning on that pattern.
It was 20 the ball. It was 28 feet. Sorry, it was 28 feet, 21 mils. 1.09 to 1.27.
Pain, frustration, and depression. That's really what it comes down to. But you got to be able to make spares, and you got to be able to leave makeable spares, because on that pattern, it's tough leaving makeable spares. You make a mistake, and you're leaving washouts. You're leaving 2-8-10s. You're leaving, dead, double nuts, churches. There's no room for error. And then when you do make, like, you're not leaving a 9 if you're making like a decently bad shot, right? Unless you go Brooklyn, which I'm sure there were quite a few of those around. But even hard to go Brooklyn when they're that flat and they're that short, because you could imagine. I imagine how many people were missing the head pin left. Like, it's just probably like, especially the first game or two before the carry down hit. No, am I wrong?
Bro, the carry down didn't even matter. They to me, in the 6 games I bowled, they never even got to a point where you could even attempt to play the middle of the lane in a serious fashion. So
I bowled league on that pattern years ago, and I found the most success bowling that pattern topping the ball, like the helicopter,
spinning it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some people use plastic, and that seems to be effective to a degree.
I mean, literally, like the Chinese Taipei. You ever see?
Right.
When they just completely like. I used to try to do that, and it actually wouldn't be bad, because the top spin of the roll actually is not terrible. But man, they're brutal, dude. I bowled on that, and people who are listening and watching, you don't really understand how hard that pattern is until
a pattern like that. Yeah.
You got a bowl.
Oh yeah, put it out. I mean, if you like, Greg was nice enough to send me the pattern. So there were a couple.
The PBA won't put that pattern out. The PBA wouldn't put that pattern out. They wouldn't put that out for the U.S. Open. They wouldn't put that 27-foot 1-to-1 out.
That's what I was thinking when I was bowling on it. I was like, man, like I want Greg Tack to design a pattern for the PBA, because like he comes up with some diabolical shit, son.
Miserable.
I mean,
anyway, so
yeah, like
let's talk about your bowling, because you bowled bad, but compared to the field, you didn't bowl like terrible either. Like,
no, I finished in
you almost cashed.
I did almost cash, and I finished in like 24th or 25th or something like that.
Out of how many?
Out of 50 something. So I was like, I was middle of the pack.
It's not great, but you were 100 under. You would think like you would have been.
I was
mercy
100
on
on. I was 170 under, son.
and you finished midfield, 25th.
Mid pack. I mean,
Yeah.
Rob, there were people that were
Yeah,
300
under.
plus under for
How many
6.
people plus?
2.
And Pelusic
2
wasn't one of
people.
them.
No, he was not one of them.
But
And
he
then-
got to like that weird match play that he ran or some bullshit, right?
Yeah, so the format was somewhat different for this event. Greg took the top 6, and then 2 people got a bye. Top 2 got a bye. The next 4 bowled a best of 5, I think. Best of 5, or was it best of 3? It might have been no, I think it was best of 5. Best of 5, 9th and 10th frame roll off. So you did 1 9th and 10th frame roll off, another one, until somebody won 3. And I stuck around. For a few minutes to watch just the start of the finals. I was actually trying to decide if I wanted to go to my favorite wing place in the world or not. I ended up not going because it was too far away from the bowling center. So I stuck around for like maybe 2 rounds of the first round, like two 9th and 10th frame rounds of the first round. And I'll be honest with you, I walked out saying to myself, yeah, Pelusic's going to win. Because he was the only guy that had what I would consider like a serious playable look. He was the only one. Everybody else was doing some extreme shit. One guy was using plastic. Right down the middle. Another guy, regional guy, was basically lofting the right gutter. He was almost lofting the right gutter and playing the hold on the gutter in some way. But yeah, Joe at that point had found a way to use the purple hammer and create some hook and create some hold, and it looked pretty good. So my day went like this: 195 the first game, which was a miracle. I mean, it was a miracle. I think I crossed over twice. It was a patched together 195. All right. Jimmy in the chat says this tourney sounds as frustrating as your spouse cheating on you with student athletes and then bragging about it to the local paper. Ooh, stay tuned. Folks. You might have to go into overtime with us to get to that point, but stay tuned. So I went 195. It was a miracle patched together game. The good news throughout the day was that my spare shooting was on point. I think I made the 1 2 3 5 8 9 1 2 3 5 8 9. Okay, I think I made it 5 times. I made it 5 times. Okay, set that up somewhere when you're bowling and try and make that.
You leaving it 5 times.
Oh my god! Well, all you had to do was miss 3 left, and that's where you were going to leave. If you missed 3 left, you were going to hit. You were going to be going away on the 2-pin.
Okay, so
195. I'm in a good spot. 147. 147. Split
easy to
city.
do.
184. Okay. Decent game. Probably my best game of the day. 157. 172. 188 the last game, which was probably another one of my better games. The 4th game, I tried to use a different ball other than the purple hammer. Didn't work out real well. Went back to the purple hammer the last game. You know, that was pretty much the only ball that I used all day. And minus 157 for 6.
Okay.
You know, not good, but like you said, middle of the field. You know, if I would have executed better, I definitely would have cashed. You know, my execution was just horrendous. But you had to be perfect on this. I mean, it was like if you weren't perfect, you weren't going to have a chance to strike. So,
all right, so let's go. So fast forward now.
Big review.
You don't bowl the tournament Sunday.
Didn't bowl the tournament Sunday. Bowl Wednesday.
Pelusic wins the long pattern
both.
too, right?
Yeah,
wins both. Pelusic is leaps and bounds better than probably 99% of the people that bowl in that Greg Tack. I mean, he's essential. I mean, he bowled on TV, like on the PBA.
He's a professional. He's a
professional, right? So
your
he goes
top
full
level.
time. He owns a pro shop, right? Like
Your top level professionals would disagree with us, right?
what?
I'm
Then
not
I'm
gonna
talking
lie.
about your area, like your
Oh yeah,
area,
I
not
mean, yeah,
like
like
area bowler, right?
forget
Like
it.
he,
But I
yeah,
mean, seriously, like if
he's a
he
great
shows
bowler.
up, if he shows up to one of these events and does not beat someone like me or the other guys bowling there, they're like,
Yeah, he needs to retire.
that's pathetic. Like
I
he
know.
should be throwing his stuff off the
I know.
bridge on the way home. So,
100%. All right, so
um,
league review. So now you're bowling on Dragon, which my brother on Twitter says it's going to be like a house shot. So I don't know what he was talking about compared to what you bowled. So what'd you bowl in league?
terrible, terrible. So, it's amazing that people won't bowl me. It
Oh,
just amazes me.
if
I
I
mean,
lived in New Jersey, I'd bowl you every week. It'd be a
like
full time job.
I probably average like 160 on this tough stuff.
Oh, I would love to
Um,
bowl you on that 1-to-1 Greg Tack
oh,
pattern. That would be
I,
the pattern I would put out for every match that I bowl.
Jesus.
So
So here was the problem. It was so there's oh my god. I'm sorry. My brain is
I know,
rattled.
I'm
So
trying to get to this.
so I fell asleep. It was my last day of school. It was my first day of summer. Today was my first day waking up not having to go to work.
Oh, must be nice.
Last night was I got out of school, I got done, I came home, I was relaxing. I was like, you know what? I was just sitting watching TV. I'm like,
Oh, take a nap.
I'm gonna take a little nap. So I fell asleep.
Look at this guy. Must be light. Must
Oh my
be
god,
nice.
it's
This guy's the
beautiful.
busiest man in the world. He comes on late today. This guy's taking midday naps over here. Look at this.
Beautiful.
Must be
It's
nice.
beautiful. I took another
All right.
midday nap today, but so problem was midday nap turned into couldn't
3
wake up.
hours.
Yeah, couldn't wake up. And I should leave for league at the latest 7:00 if I want to get there to have some time to put my balls down, get set, whatever. I woke up from my nap at 7:22. Okay. A part of me was like, I ain't going. I'm just forfeiting the night. I don't even care.
Oh, I'd give you so much shit if
I
you didn't
thought
go.
about it for 2 minutes. Then I was like, you know what? I'm off tomorrow. Let me suck it up. Let me just grab my stuff real quick.
So you got there late.
Got there late. I run in. They're starting practice.
Okay.
Rob, it is 1,000,000 degrees in the bowling center. Okay. It was a
That's why I don't
beautiful
bowl in the
night
summer.
out last
I
night.
don't bowl in the summer because
Weather-wise in Jersey. It was like a little bit of rain, overcast. It was cool. It was breezy. I go in the bowling center. It's got to be 20 degrees warmer in the bowling center than it is outside. My hand was just shit from the beginning. Okay.
All right.
And
Excuses here. Let's go through the list of excuses.
I'm not going to use that as an excuse for generally how I bowl, but it's tough. It's tough to overcome that. It is.
I'm not using this for excuse, but I couldn't get out of the ball. My thumb was hanging.
I just couldn't. I started with 2 pieces of tape in, one front, one back. I took the back one out. That didn't make it feel better. I took the front one out. That didn't make it feel better. I put the back one back in, a new piece, and that was pretty good. Once I did that, I was all right.
So that's a Bolero center you bowl at, or is it a different center?
No, it's a privately owned center.
Probably. So people complaining? Is it just you? Like, is like the league getting together?
Generally, no. The league isn't getting together, but generally speaking, yes, people are like, yes, it's very hot and uncomfortable in here.
So, but nothing's going to change if no one says anything.
I know, but what do you, I'm not going to be that guy. Like,
Is there
I'll
a
just deal
manager?
with it.
Is there a manager?
Yeah,
there?
I know
Talk
the
to
managers. Yeah.
Talk to a manager.
Then it's not likely to change. It's not
But
likely to change.
If the league decides that they're not bowling, like if they decide that they're not going to bowl unless they get the
It's
AC
not
on.
that bad. Well, actually, I think it's that bad, but I would say that most people don't think it's that bad, like where they wouldn't bowl.
People are just bitches, dude. They don't want to bowl. They don't want to bullshit. They don't want to bitch about shit that actually.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that generally, like, bowlers feel like, oh, we should be happy just that they're doing this for us.
But New Jersey
Right.
and like East Coast, like people aren't afraid to like bitch about air conditioning. I mean, shit. When we were in Brooklyn, they used to bitch all the fucking time about shit. Air conditioning not working. I mean, yeah, nothing changed because we had Slumlord running our bowling centers, but still, like, I mean, yeah, like it's just next week you're gonna just walk into the same thing. It's gonna be fucking 10 weeks of 100
Well, I'm
degrees
hoping
in that bowling center.
I'm hoping that once it really gets hot out and like the hot weather comes, that they'll bump it up because it's just hot out all day.
Right.
But yeah, listen. Then I went into the bathroom. Okay, I go to wash my hands, and I forgot that the hand dryer's broke. It's been broke since we started the league. Since I've been there. And you think they'd have paper towels in the bathroom? No paper towels in the bathroom. So I'm like, okay, So they have club-like music bumping while we're bowling.
Were there birthday parties next to you?
See, that's why I told you this was going to be a good transition. That's why I said, yeah, my league report will be a good transition to the regional discussion. So yeah, there's like music bumping. The place is crowded as hell when we're bowling. Then the league next to us ends, and all those people leave. And Rob, I'm not even kidding. I mean, this may have been in my head because I was very focused on it. But I swear to God that I felt the temperature in the place drop once all the people from this other league left. I was like, oh, it feels like a little bit cooler in here now. Like I moved down towards where they were at, and like I was on one of the last couple pairs for the last 2 games, and it felt a little bit cooler, and I was like, oh my God, like it feels like I can actually like relax and calm myself a little bit. So yeah,
well, when you're rushing into the bowling center too, it doesn't help.
I woke up, 20
Sweating,
minutes before I started throwing my first ball. So yeah, I was a mess, and I didn't bowl good at all. I couldn't make a right side spare because I could not get the ball off my hand clean enough to really make a right side spare. I was using urethane at spares. And Dragon, your brother says it's like a house shot. I think he's trolling me, honestly, because it was like at least until I got in the right ball, until I got in an IQ tour, it was almost impossible for me to strike. I think I threw I said 2 strikes in 26 frames on Twitter. I think I underestimated it. I think I might have had 5 strikes in 26 frames. Okay. But out of those 5, I think one of them was a crossover. So let's say 4 strikes in 26 frames. They were like impossible for me. I threw the Brunswick mindset, pin up Brunswick mindset, stunk. Didn't hook, didn't hold, had nothing with it. I threw the hammer Black Widow, the red Black Widow, looked great. Reaction was great. Had hold, had hook. Every time I hit the pocket, it was a flat 10. So finally, I went to an IQ tour, pinned down IQ tour with a little bit of surface on it, and that looked great. I mean, I had hold, I had a little bit of hook. If I threw it right, it carried. It looked real good. But I didn't do that until the end of the 3rd game. So I went like, oh God, I don't even remember my scores. I want to say, like, and I'm generalizing here, but like 150, 150, 160 for the first 3. And then I shot like 2-teen the last game with the IQ tour.
All right. So
terrible. I mean, just horrendous.
Hacking it up.
Hacking it up, son.
Hacking it up.
Hacking it up, son. All over the place. Getting my ass kicked all over the place. Oh yeah, I mean, just terrible, bro, terrible.
Okay, so obviously the center isn't really helping you out here.
No, I need to refocus. I need to refocus going into next week. Is what I need to do. Okay. I need to learn how to. Early. I need. This is great. Jimmy in the chat saying, "Sweep the hack." That's it. That's it. I love it. But yeah, listen, I need to refocus. And, can I say, I had this thought last night while I was bowling, like, one of the things that impresses me about professional bowlers, generally speaking, is that, especially the ones that are successful again and again and again and are always at the top of the standings, is that they're able to deal with all these variables that for somebody like me just make me fall apart. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, like I go into a bowling center and it's hot and I'm sticking in the thumb a little bit. Oh my God, forget it. It's the end of my night. I go in and they're playing music that's distracting me. Oh, it's the end of my night. Oh, they're 6 on a pair and it's slow and it's hot. Oh, it's the end of my night.
Mike, what the pros
I can't slide. It's the end of my night.
Mike, they're doing the pros are doing it for a living. Look, like my job, I deal with a bunch of variables. Your job, you deal with a bunch of variables. You never know what's going to happen in your job when you're there on an 8 to 9 hour, or teachers like 5 hours. But like, you never know what you're going to deal with. You're expecting the unexpected. These guys are bowling for a living. That's what they're getting paid for, is to deal with the variables. They know how to deal with the hot, sticky approaches. Some of them do, not all of them, right? And they know how to like keep their bodies, maybe, how to keep their body temperatures down for maybe, sweating. They're drinking a lot of water. They're doing it for a living, Mike. You're doing it once a week,
Yeah,
twice a week, maybe.
but they got to go out and perform under these different conditions
But
and
that's what
different
they do for a
variables and
living.
everything. I mean,
And look at the pro sports players, the NFL, the kickers, that the rain, the snow, that's what they're paid for. They're paid to perform well on the tough environments and the tough variables.
but it
You're doing it
impresses
once
me
a week. Oh
because
yeah, I get it.
I know they go through the same things. That's
They
what I'm
do,
saying.
but
I know they
they're
go
getting
through some of the
that's
same
what
things.
that's what their profession is. So
So, is that a good transition?
it's a great transition, because I want to get into the shit that happened this week in a few places, well, last week. This is a crazy situation, because I tried to ask around to try to get like the story of what actually happened at this PBA regional. And I'm reading comments, and I'm trying to get the gist of it, the details. And I'm going to try to sum up what I know of it happening situation. And then maybe you could chime in, Mike, and maybe you have a little bit more input. So essentially, there's a regional going down. I believe it was in North Carolina somewhere. I think it's like Mooresville. I could be wrong there. I was looking for it. A regional was held, and they they didn't use the whole house for the regional, right, Mike? From my understanding, they had a couple of open bowling pairs on that corner of the house, which is normal when you're bowling amateur tournaments. It's not so normal when you deal with pro, but we'll talk a bit more about that after we talk about what happened. From my understanding, there was a couple of lanes that were reserved for birthday parties. Okay. They gave a 6-lane buffer from the birthday party bowling lanes to the actual tournament. From my understanding, there was a curtain they had blocking, so you couldn't see the birthday parties, and the birthday parties essentially maybe the curtain would stop the kids from maybe running onto the lanes. But they gave a 6-lane buffer. Okay. From my understanding, that the birthday parties were loud, which is expected, and the parents were taking pictures, which is expected, right? Now, is it so the bone centers tell the birthday parties not to take pictures? Yes, but how do you tell parents of a kid who's having a birthday party not to take pictures? Maybe turn off your flashes is probably the way to go here. But I don't really know, like I said, the details. But all I know is there was some complaints about the birthday parties from some people on Facebook. Okay,
From
talking
players.
about the players. The players complained. The tournament director, or the guy who's running it, I don't know if it was the owner or if it was the manager or whatever it is, made some Facebook posts on some threads that I read about how his bowling center doesn't make any money when the regionals are there. Um,
Hold on, we
okay,
have to
so
interject here
we
from the
do,
chat.
yeah, not a
Leon
curtain.
Platt says not a curtain, a
Okay,
partition on the approach. So, Leon, can you describe what you
what a
mean
partition
to
means?
us by partition? Right? I know, separation, but they were very visible, he says. I
Okay,
was there, and not really distraction to me. So he says partition was like 6 feet tall by 8 feet wide. But what was it? Was it just plexiglass? Was it just like a police crime scene tape that was put up? I don't know. Like what I'm trying to envision what was
what it
separating
was,
the bowlers
right?
from this birthday party.
Did they make a bowling ball wall? Or did they stack bowling balls up? Like, which would be pretty cool, I think. So, long story short, the regional guy, the director, or the owner, or whoever it was, um, decides he's done. He's done running regional events. So he literally cancels, like, I think there was 2 more regional events he was going to have at his bowling center for, like, the future, like a couple months in advance, and he cancels them completely and says, "Fuck you guys, fuck the players." fuck all you. I'm done with this shit. I don't make any money anyway. I don't need this shit. And now it's this big like online war between who was in the right, who was in the wrong, who's the blame, who's all this.
So Leon says it was like a PVC frame with like a banner on it.
What they
Okay.
conjure up. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, I can. So he's saying there was like, it's 6 feet tall. It's made out of
Okay.
PVC. It's 8 feet wide. It comes down. It has 2 legs, right? And
Okay.
then hanging from it, they probably drilled holes in the PVC, and hanging from it is a banner of some kind.
Okay.
So Leon, would it be fair to say it was partially obstructing the view of the birthday party for the players, partially obstructing the view, or not obstructing the view at all? Because I
So,
think
Mike,
it's important to get the mental picture
it is
here.
It is.
Because when you said black curtain, that makes me think one way about this. But now if we're talking about just a PVC piece of piping in between like a railing, I don't know. My opinion might be different. Okay.
Okay.
So
So
he says correct. Okay, so I have the correct. All right, good.
So here's my
partial.
question to you, because I personally have been going back and forth here on like what like my opinion is, right? Because I have mixed feelings about this situation. I'm gonna throw it to you first because I want to hear your opinion. Maybe you could influence me somehow. Is the bowling center, are they in the right here? Should they be able to use a couple pairs for open play as long as they have a 6-lane buffer between the tournament and the open bowlers? Or should they essentially, if you agree to run a regional at your bowling center, you should be able to give the whole bowling center to the regional, knock out maybe the corner pairs and use them only if a pair breaks down, and shut it out for the rest of like the open play world until the tournament's over or the qualifying is over. I'm asking you.
All right, I want to ask a question.
Okay,
So
answer the
if
question with a question.
if I'm the proprietor,
Uh-huh.
do I have to shut the bowling center down even when the regional is not bowling? Like the
No,
regional? No.
no.
Okay.
It's never like that. I mean, how many times we're bowling big tournaments or regionals where as soon as we're done, there's people start coming in and they start
Right.
getting the lanes out, and there's no way you're going to shut down. You know how much money you're going to lose out on a Friday night or Saturday night when it's usually the regionals are run from that.
Okay.
I'm talking during bowling, during the tournament qualifying match play. Do you expect them to shut the whole bowling center down, or is it depends on how the bowling center is built?
No, I
Right?
know you. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
I know you're asking me this in general, but I think the semantics matter here. I'm going to be
it does
honest.
matter. It does matter how the bowling center is built, right?
Set up. How many lanes are there?
How many lanes, right?
Right. If you're in a 24 lane center, then no, I don't think there's any way that you can have a PBA event there of any kind, and have lanes going while the event is bowling. Now, if we're in a 40 lane center, 40 plus, maybe 36 plus, depending on the numbers of how many people are bowling and this and that, then I think and listen, here's my take on this. The proprietor's in the right and the players are in the wrong. And
Okay.
that's my take on this. Okay. And the
Okay.
reason that I feel that way is because, number one, this is a regional we're talking about. Okay. This is not the US Open. This is not a PBA major. We ain't bowling for 100,000. We ain't even bowling for a title. Okay. This is mostly weekend warrior type guys who like to compete at the highest level they can. All right. And while I appreciate that, I mean, clearly I have an appreciation for those guys and a respect for those guys. I think you have to be more realistic about where bowling is right now, and where bowling proprietors are right now.
So here's my question to that. If you have a bowling center that has, let's just say 36 lanes, right? You're right in the
Okay.
gray area of that. Okay. Okay. Listen, if they're putting 5 on a pair because they want to keep 3 pairs open for birthday parties and leagues instead of actually using, most of all the pairs and have 3 on a pair or 4 on a pair, where you could actually, have them bowling pretty quickly. Don't you think that as a bowling center proprietor, it would be better for you to shut down the center during the qualifying, have 3 on a pair, get these players off the lanes hours quicker so you could actually give open play bowling more time in the evening than actually cutting the entries off, putting 5 or 6 on the pair, and then having them bowl for longer and only having 2 or 3 pairs. And I do agree there's semantics here, but I have a feeling that there were players that were angry because they were piling on the pairings instead of like actually opening up to 3 on a pair for say and using more pairs. So as a player, I would be agitated if I saw there were essentially 6 pairs out of play, 3 they would had to block off, and then 3 they used for birthday parties. I'm just using that as an example. I don't know if that was a specific case in Mooresville, but you get my point.
I do, and that's why I said that I think the details matter. And you could give me 100 different examples, and I would have to evaluate each one.
Right.
Based on what you just said, I think to have an expectation of 3 on a pair is kind of wild.
Here we go.
That's
so
a
Leon,
wild expectation.
This specific case, there was 4 to a pair, and there was capped at 104 entries. I don't think there's a problem with that. I think 104
no problem
entries.
With that.
No,
no problem with that.
How many regionals do I ever bowl in my life on the West that I ever go to 104? And 4 in a pair, that's actually a perfect setting for a qualifying. I think 3 is actually a little bit too fast, and I think 5 is a little bit too many. I think 4 is the perfect amount on a pair when you're qualifying for a tournament, my opinion.
Yeah, so in this case, I would definitely say that, the proprietor's in the right. I mean, not only and I see David O'Sullivan with a couple comments. What's up, Dave? What's going on?
Yeah, Dave, man. Good.
Nice bowling at Nationals, Dave. Nice bowling, man. The players need to understand the business side of it. The players need to understand the business side of it, and the players need to understand, again, like Dave said, that the bowling center pays to host this event, right? I understand that the players want the absolute most pristine environment that they could imagine.
But they had 3 pairs. They had 3 pairs between
difference. I know. Now, listen, in terms of if somebody's going to go and say the reason I didn't make a cut is because this birthday party was down here, bro, you need to just go practice. Honestly, I mean,
it sounds like somebody didn't want to blame themselves for bowling bad and look for pointing a finger and decided that they were going to point fingers at some birthday parties or some loud kids. And what's hilarious? The guy who on Facebook who was bitching was talking about the guy who was actually complaining about how this kid hasn't cashed in a regional in 3 years or something like that. He was dogging him, and I'm like, oh my God, what the hell happened right now? It's just so hilarious.
Yeah, so I think if the proprietor goes to certain lengths to try and make it as amicable for the players as he can, that makes a difference to me too.
Yeah.
Right? Like putting up a barrier, having a decent buffer of lanes in between. I mean, how much more do you expect? How much more do you expect? Now, with that said,
and there were fines.
Yeah, well, listen, that's what the PBA likes to do. It seems like that's Tom Clark and the PBA's favorite thing to do these days, and Chad Murphy's favorite thing to do these days is to walk around handing out fine slips to people, which is ridiculous. Okay, let people say what they want to say.
But here's my biggest beef with victory lanes. Okay, I do have a problem with victory lanes in this situation.
I do too. I do too. I'll be interested to see if we have the same issue.
You've already scheduled regionals. You have them on the schedule, right? You've planned them. They're on the PBA website. You have weekends. People are planning to follow through with the regionals you've already planned. Go through with it. If you want to be done hosting regionals, I don't blame you, okay? You're probably going to make more money as a proprietor open bowling on a whole weekend, right? I get it. If you don't want to, don't schedule any further tournaments. But I'm a man of my word. When I say I'm going to do something, I do it, okay? The victory lanes already planned these regionals. Go through with it. Finish off your schedule, but don't host anymore if that's the case. This guy got all butthurt on Facebook. I'm canceling everything. Shut the show down. Shut the studio. It reminded me of Chappelle in that skit. Yo, I'm shutting the studio down unless you get me a left-handed golf clubs from Brooklyn. I'm shutting the studio down. This guy shutting the studio down, Mike. And he shut the studio down. He didn't give zero fucks about it. Go through with the schedule. People are planning them. They see him. There's a lot of excited people in your area, in North Carolina, in that area, wanting to probably bowl in those regionals. And you're going to go cancel them. And you get all butthurt because a couple of people on Facebook are bitching about shit. Get the fuck out of here. Come on. Like, really? I get you don't want to schedule further regionals. Look, that's your prerogative. You're a proprietor. But you've already planned them. Finish it up. Run a good tournament. And then be done with it.
No, that's not my issue. My issue is that I saw on social media that I guess it was the owner of Victory Lanes who posted it. It looked like it was under their Facebook account. But they said something like, they pay to host this PBA event and then they sacrificed $25,000.
I bet. I believe that. I do believe that.
You believe that?
I do.
I don't know if I
The
believe
regional
that.
centers don't make any money when they host these. And he was talking about the players weren't even eating at the restaurant.
He was saying, like, at part of hosting the regional, if you're going to shut down, your center, is that you're going to lose $25,000 in revenue, right? And I don't know. I mean, that seems like an awful big number to me for just a day of regionals bowling.
Well, he talked about how much money they make. I bet they build the bowling center open play all weekend. And what do they get from the regionals? They get lineage. The players aren't even eating at the restaurant. Maybe you make a little bit of bar money, but I mean, I don't think that's really too far off, to be honest with you. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with Kevin Hebert here. That figure struck me as very high. I mean, very high. Like, I don't know. I just felt like he was kind of trying to pour fuel on the fire and make it a bigger issue than it really was.
So David says, one of the centers I have, the shop told me last weekend that they did $15K in 2 days and our center isn't super, super busy. If he has a super, super busy center.
But that's only $7,500 a day. I mean, to say 25,000 in a day, like, I don't know, Dave. I mean, those numbers, I believe, 35,000. 35,000 Friday, Saturday,
look,
Jimmy said.
All right. Well, let's just say he blew the number up a little bit.
Okay.
Let's just say they were only doing, 15,000 a day, right? And he overblew it by 10,000. The proprietors are still losing money, and they have to pay the PBA to host the regional there. Okay. So there is something broken with the PBA regional system, and I don't want to get into that because we've talked about it. But this just shows you, right? Like, it's tough, I think, finding good centers that want to host regionals because the centers have to go above and beyond to actually host them, Mike. And I feel like at this point, like, for them to lose a regional center that seemed like he was very involved with the PBA because of some bitching on Facebook, is a little ridiculous on both ends. The people that are bitching are being bitches, and the guy who canceled the tournaments is being a bitch too. I think everybody's being a bitch here, Mike. I don't think there's
so Matt R says that center is pretty busy. He also says that they do a casino night for the Pro-Am, and he imagines that does really well on Fridays, but that is a busy center. O'Sullivan pointing out between bowling, the grill, and the bar in the summer, like that could be a very believable number, realistic number. I could see that if we're talking all alcohol sales, all food sales, etc. But I'll be honest, like I'm thinking about it more in terms of just a strictly bowling revenue, right?
Yeah,
the revenue that you're.
But you don't make the money look, bars and restaurants, you make money on the bar. You don't make money on the bowling itself. It's always
but that's also not to say that people can't come in and eat at your establishment and have a drink there.
But people want to bowl too, though.
Okay, you're right. Most of them do. You're right. I'll give you that. Yeah, okay, so anyway, I just why do centers still have to pay to host a PBA tournament?
Oh, that's a whole.
Why
nother,
do centers have to pay to host the regional?
because just the
What are you
professionals are coming,
talking about?
Mike. Because the professionals are coming to your bowling center to bowl, and
And
it's.
how much is it? How much does a center have to pay to host a regional?
I think it's like $5,000. I think is what I heard the number was. At least from I remember what Victory Lane's post was. I think that's
I
the
don't know, man.
how. Why would a bowling?
And how are they supposed to recoup that back? Like, what's the PBA's idea? Like, do they make the money from the pro-am? Is
I
it the
don't know.
center that makes the money for the pro? We got to
We
find.
need to bring on a
We need
proprietor.
to bring on a proprietor that's run a tournament.
That's hosted a regional, and we need to get those answers. So David knows.
3,500.
I was close, right? I was close. Why would, as a proprietor, I shut down my bowling for all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and pay 3,500 to get some regional hacks to come into my bowling center and bowl? Honestly,
No,
I
I don't know. I mean, and again, like, how am I? If I'm the proprietor, like, how do I recoup that 3,500? You know, do I do again? Am I making money off of the pro-am? Am I charging people? Am I charging people to get in? Come on,
$20 a head. So
come
centers.
on.
So Brian says in our chat, centers run pro-ams to get some of the money. So I have to run a
Okay,
pro-am to break even. Like
okay.
what kind of business would that be if I was running? I would never. I would go out of business. So essentially, I have to force a pro-am Friday night and hope I break even. Nico, I'm saying hacks because I got to pull this up. Nico, hate to say it, and I might get a lot of heat for this, but 85% of the regional fields are hacks. Okay, I said it.
I'm not saying it. I'm not
I
saying
said
it.
it.
Rob said that.
I said it. It's a lot of those guys shouldn't be bowling. They're not pros. Okay.
And Nico, I would respond to your comment by saying, yeah, exactly. Like, Kyle Troop was the only player there. I mean, you know, I know
the
that
bowling
Kyle's
center-
one of the bigger draws you could have, which is nice, but like, if I'm putting up that kind of money, I expect more than just Kyle Troop.
Did the bowling center make 3,500 back from Kyle Troop bowling?
I don't know. I think it's probably possible that you could if you did something interesting with it.
Maybe.
But
I don't know. Back in bowling action against some of the regional guys. I don't know. Like, anyway, the whole situation is kind of
so yeah,
it's kind
when you think about it, when you think about the fact that like these places are paying a fee to host this and they got to make it back, and then they're, you know, sacrificing a lot of their revenue for the weekend. I think that the players need to be a little bit more open to it. And again, from my perspective, it's like, don't sit here and tell me that you didn't make the cut because there was a birthday party bowling behind a partition. Like, come on, Hoss. Come on. I mean, if that's what you're going to say, I'm going to say you shouldn't be bowling at that level. You know, I'm sure the guys that bowled well, they barely even noticed that a birthday party was going on down the other end. You know, and there were accusations on social media about, oh, it was the birthday parties making noise? Oh, it was the PBA's people's kids running around making noise? But, you know, whatever it is, I mean, you're going to be dealing with distractions here and there. You know, you are. I just talked about it in my own league review. Like, if you call yourself a professional and you're out there bowling regionals, you should be able to deal with low level distractions like that. Now,
like,
if you got kids coming up on the approach, you know, getting in your way as you're starting your approach, like, I don't know.
Mike, that's what the partition is. Okay,
All
so
right,
you
I mean,
can't
that's
see.
pretty good. Like, that's pretty good
see,
to me.
So I don't see now. Now I get a really idea. It is essentially a curtain, Mike. It's a curtain. It's a little bit of a see-through. You could see, but it's not. This thing.
See, this is a good point. This is a good point. And we used to go watch regionals. Me and Joe and Bill, we used to drive
I used
all
to
over
go all
and
the
watch
time.
regionals.
I love
right?
going to watch regionals.
And why? Because a lot of the big names were there,
Yeah,
right? And that's the point that Dave's making here. And Dave, I don't know if you'll agree with me on this or not, but I feel like that's not the case today.
No, and I was just like kind of kidding about like 85% being hacks. I'd probably say like more than none, the fields aren't really too strong in the regionals.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I'd say like you
it's a
get
lot of
100
local
guys.
guys. It's a lot of
You get
local good
100.
bowlers.
And I was kidding about the 85%. I got a little caught up in the moment, but I kind of feel like you're getting a lot, at least about 60% are probably players, and you bowl in a regional. And I think like you probably ratio would be like 35% or 40% are just there to like try to get experience bowling the pros. I'm not putting down anybody who bowls a regional because I think we need more of that. We need more people trying to bowl those regionals to try to understand where the game is.
I tell
So
people, I don't really look at somebody as a really good bowler until they go and regularly make cuts and have success at the regional level.
I'm glad Greg Thompson's a great bowler. PBA regional guy, goes all over the place. Bowls 65, 70 is hacks. Yeah, maybe. Look, like it depends really. It depends what region too. I mean, you go some of these regions and you got a lot of like touring players that are bowling. But anyway, okay, Mike. We got to move on. There's a lot more to talk about. We are pretty sure going to overtime tonight, I would
Oh,
imagine.
I
But
don't care. I don't care. I'm
I
off.
know you
I'll
got no
sit here all night,
school.
bro.
I know you're so okay. So there was some bowling going on this week. There was some big major tournaments. Um, there was the PWBA had their U.S. Open, and the PBA 50 had their senior U.S. Open. And I watched both shows, so I have a good idea of how fun the shows were to watch. And I think both shows were really fun to watch. I mean, I think though one of my points here is streaming shows on Bowl TV. I watch differently than I watch a Fox show. Is that for me? I watch more as a bowler when I'm watching the bowl TV shows, and when I'm watching the Fox shows, I'm watching more as a fan. I feel like when I have the Bowl TV subscription pulled up and I have the streaming, I feel like yeah, I'm a bowler. I got the Bowl TV app, and like so I'm watching more as a bowler, and I'm watching more of the strategy and the reactions, and I'm not really trying to be entertained. I'm trying to watch it as me as a competitor, right? When I'm watching the Fox shows, I'm watching it more as like I want to gamble and I just want to have fun. Weird. I don't know if that's a weird point, but it's kind of how I watch it. So anyway, um, the PWBA. We could start there, Mike.
Great show.
Great show. Um,
Tough.
it's I didn't get a chance to watch the first match between Liz Johnson and Danielle McEwen. I kind of have a feeling that might have been the best. Well, I'm not going to say the best match of the show because the best match of the show was the last match.
Right.
Because I mean, there was no debating that. But
But they were all good.
they were all good. I do
There was
feel
a
like
lot of back and forth in these matches. There was a lot of one bowler not getting off to a good start, the other bowler not really capitalizing, and then the bowler who didn't get off to a good start coming back and capitalizing on the mistakes that the other player made. You know,
yeah. So like I said, I didn't get a chance to watch that match, but Danielle McEwen ended up beating Liz Johnson 212 to 201. And I felt like Danielle McEwen got in a little bit of a rhythm because she bowled a pretty decent game against Diana. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name.
Savjalova.
Savagilova. Savagilova didn't feel like she ever got comfortable. I feel like she wasn't comfortable with her reaction. Her ball was hitting the spot way too hard down the back end of the lane.
Well, it either hooked
Um,
too much or didn't hook.
well, her reaction wasn't great. Danielle
No.
McEwen had a better reaction. I believe she was using a phase 2. She was more farther left. She was able to like calm down the back of the lane, and it showed. Like Danielle McEwen was able to like bowl 227. She got pretty comfortable. So Danielle ends up bowling Brianna Cote.
Nico's saying Danielle McEwen was bowling with a broken toe. Did they say that on the show? I don't remember them saying that.
I didn't hear them saying that, which is crazy if she was, especially if it's her left foot. I can't imagine. I mean, I bowled with some fucked up toes in my day when I was younger. I always had a problem with those, but I never had a fucking broken toe. So that shit hurts. You can't do anything when you have a broken toe. I'm trying to remember exactly the match between Brianna and Danielle, but I felt like I'm trying to remember exactly because the last match is really what sticks out in my head of that shit show of a match. But Brianna got comfortable and she struck, and she had a great reaction too. I think she ended up throwing a Brooklyn on a double, I believe. That kind of helped her, like kind of put the nails in the coffin on Danielle. Danielle had some bad breaks. She was 4 pins, stone 10. It was just one of those matches for Danielle. I just think that Brianna caught that good break in on that double to really put the nails on that match.
Was that the game? That was the game where Brianna threw the wrong ball, too, at one
On the
point,
left
right?
lane.
On the
On the
left
left
lane,
lane.
yeah.
Yeah, I
She was
do.
supposed to start with the same ball on both lanes,
And she
or
threw the wrong.
two different balls on both lanes, but she threw the wrong one on one lane, and definitely seemed like once she got that straightened out, she was able to execute pretty well.
Yeah. I kind of want to jump into the last match because the last match was, I think, unforgettable to a certain degree. Neither one of them wanted to win that match.
No,
Brianna threw
Cote wanted to win that match.
well, she wanted
Cote
to,
wanted to
but
win that
she didn't
match. She just
she didn't throw the
she
ball like she wanted to.
well, she for a
She
point in the
missed
game she did.
spares. She missed spares. She was, she started out like,
She had some serious mental mistakes.
oh,
You're right.
she threw
Early
him
in
out
that
the.
game, she had some serious mental mistakes. But as I said, like there were a couple matches where one player didn't get off to that great of a start, but then was later able to apply the pressure, and that's exactly what happened here. Like she had a couple mental mistakes early in this match, and it looked like Clara Guerrero was going to be able to really put her foot on her neck
Early.
and
She
just
should.
and just take her out,
She never did.
and she wasn't able to capitalize. She got up there and made her own mistakes, and put her own opens on the board and allowed Cote to stay in it, and allowed her. And listen, like we've all been there, we've all been there. And when you allow that person to stay in it, they start to believe, okay, I still got them, I still got them, I still got them. So yeah, it was really tough it was tough to watch. It was tough to watch from Clara Guerrero's perspective. I mean, here you are. You haven't had a they must have said it 5 times during the match that she was characterizing her season as a failure. She felt like winning this could make her season and kind of change the narrative on that. And it's right there. It's right there. All you got to do is just get up and somewhat execute. Like you don't even have to throw strings of strikes. She just had to get up, make good shots, spare, and she would have put enough pressure on Cote where Cote never really would have been able to get back in that match. All right, but she wasn't able to do that, and Cote was able to hang around. And then the next thing you know, things start going her way.
I know, but the crazy thing is like Cote needed to make a 3-6-10 in the final shot to win, and I swear to God, I thought she chopped it when she threw that.
Is that big of a deal? I don't. People were talking about that like it was such a big deal. Like 3-6-9-10. Okay, 3-6-9-10. I feel like to make the 3-6-10 is a big deal. No,
I don't. I'd rather
ridiculous.
shoot a 3-6-10 than shoot a 3-6-9-10. I mean, that's just
100 out of 100.
Yeah, but
I mean, unless what are we bowling on? We bowling on nonsense.
It doesn't
then
matter.
a 3-6-9-10 becomes a lot easier. But if
you're
bowling on something like they're bowling on, don't sit here and tell me the 3-6-9-10 is easier than the 3-6-10.
It's not. You know why? There's really one reason why. Because for the 3-6-10, you could throw it with your plastic ball, and you could make it if you throw a good shot with the 3-6-10. 3-6-9-10, you necessarily really can't throw your spare ball at it. So you have to throw a really good strike shot with a 3-6-9-10. And if the lanes are really hard, it makes it even harder to make because of that. So that's the reason, the difference. Anyway, dude, I thought she chopped it when she let go of that ball, and I saw that ball. If she chops the the 3 clean off the 369, she loses that match by a pin, Mike. Could you imagine Clara Guerrero winning the U.S. Open bowling a 142? Because that's really what could have happened. And we were one shop spare away from that match being 142 to 141. Could you imagine being Danielle McEwen, sitting back and looking at that match and going, Jesus Christ, if I would have just been able to get through Brianna, I would have been able to like cruise through U.S. Open, because you knew Danielle was probably not going to bowl 150.
Yeah, well, can you imagine being one of the players in that match and looking back on it and thinking, and again, this has happened to us all. It happens to me all the time when I bowl tournaments. Like, I'll feel like, oh, I got to strike more. And then I get done bowling. I'm like, damn, if I just would have made like half of my makeable spares, I would have made the cut, and they both had to feel like that after this game of like, man, like, look at all the opportunities I had where I could have shot 170 or 180 and just kept it simple, but no, they allowed themselves to go deeper down that hole of, trying to execute perfectly, trying to play high risk, high reward, miss spares, etc. There were all kinds of issues in that match, and yeah, I liked it. I mean, I enjoyed watching it because they were tough and they were demanding, and
They were tough.
the pressure was on. The pressure was on, and you saw some bad shots. You did. You saw some bad shots, and I like to see that. You saw some bad shots and the results of those bad shots. It's funny, like, I'm going to bring up the Brunswick World Team Challenge for the second time on this show because I tweeted one out today, but I've been watching all kinds of old shows from the Brunswick World Team Challenge. And like the same thing would happen on that show where they were really tough. They were extremely tough. And then guys would get up in a pressure situation and throw a bad shot, like a somewhat errant shot. And when they're that tough and you throw that errant shot, it's amplified because they're that tough. And yeah, next thing you know, like they're flagging the head pin left and leaving the rail on the right hand side, and so yeah, I enjoyed it. But congrats to Brianna Cote. Big win.
No, really, congrats to Brianna. She bowls in my area. She's such a nice person. She really works hard, and every time I'm at B3, I see her there practicing. So she works really hard in her game, and she's such a great bowler. She really is. So for them to be that, for her to bowl what she did in that last game, the lanes also had to get probably really tough too.
Well, they were tough from the jump.
They were tough from the jump.
Yeah.
So for her to bowl 240 the match before and then go 150 the next match, obviously they changed somewhere down the road. Obviously, she didn't make the best shots, and I think there was a little bit of nerves too. You're bowling for your first major. She talked about it in her interviews about how, how much a major would mean to her, and you could really tell how much she wanted to win that tournament. So I'm happy for Brianna. Congrats. And yeah,
the entertainment value of that show, though, not so great. I gotta say.
Well, that's what I was talking about before I got into it, Mike. Like, I don't watch the women's show for entertainment. I watch it for my competitive bowler.
I always think about it in terms of the, what's the entertainment value rating for the show, right? I always think about that.
Let me throw a shout out to Kelly Kulik. Her analysts of what's going on the reactions, on the physical aspects of these girls throwing the shot, she's on her shit. She knows. She can tell what's going on.
She is a bowling nerd of the highest order.
Knowledge.
She's doctor. She's doctor.
Oh,
she's Dr. Kulik.
She was fixing their swings by watching them. She's like, yeah, well, Danielle got steep, her feet got fast. Then she's talking about
look, her shoulder position is different. I mean, she was talking about some wild stuff. But I got to be honest with you, though. I think it does very little for the entertainment factor.
I mean, would you rather have Rob Stone?
No. No, but
I'm just saying, I like Dave Ryan, though. I like Dave Ryan.
Dave Ryan's always okay.
As a commentator, he's a good commentator. You know what I mean? Like, his play-by-play is pretty spot on. I like Kelly and Dave Ryan. I didn't have no problems. But I wasn't watching as a fan, Mike. I was watching as a competitive bowler, and I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I always think about the entertainment value of the shows, and I just don't think that the entertainment value on these shows is very high. You know, I think they should be trying new things. They should be trying different things.
Mike, I'm going to
You
ask you a
know,
question. Nothing against PWBA, but have their television shows, televised shows, ever really been like super entertaining as a fan to watch?
well, I'll say that at one time, like in the '90s, it seemed like the PBA and the PWBA shows were on equal level entertainment wise. And I'm not saying that's a very good thing, but it seemed like they were on equal level. It was almost like the same show that you were watching. And yeah, now I feel like the PBA has, you know, in some of the things they do has sort of surpassed where the PWBA is in terms of that entertainment value. Not again, not to say that either is great, but you know, I just say it because I would like the PWBA and the USBC to just, you know, try some different things, try some things out, and see if you
You
could
think
you know
CBS?
present this in a way that is more entertaining and captivates the average fan. You know,
So let me ask you: do you think CBS Sports contributes to the kind of like nah of the show? The kind of like nah.
somewhat, somewhat, yeah. But again, I think, you know, trying different things, you might be able to get out of that. I mean, it's a fair point. It's a fair point that they only have a couple shows, right? Like John in the chat is saying they only have 2 shows a year, 3 shows a year. So I get that. I understand that. There's not a lot you can do within that, but they also have the shows on Bowl TV as well, and you can
Yeah.
definitely use that as like a ground to experiment somewhat. But you know, in
Oh,
terms of the
all right.
bowling action, yeah, couldn't give it a high enough rating from my perspective. But yeah, in terms of the entertainment value, I definitely think that there's still a lot there to be desired.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that. So anyway, okay, let's talk about the PBA seniors because the PBA seniors this week also had a U.S. Open, and
They did.
a lot of there was some a lot of nostalgia on the shows, in my opinion, and um, it just was it was fun to watch Parker Bowman be Parker Bowman for a little bit, at least for me, from just growing up watching Parker Bowman. Um, you know, and I don't know if you want to get into all the matches, but it you know it was an interesting show, the 50. Brett Angelo, Tom Hess, right? Brett Angelo, name from the past, blast from the past, you know, nostalgia. Tom Hess literally didn't have that was a blowout from the very get-go. I think it was like 266 to 145. Brett Angelo was playing a lot straighter, was using I think a lot just smoother looking balls. Um, and yeah, so Brett Angelo moves on, beats Tom Hess. Then pretty good match between Parker Bone and Brett Angelo. But you could tell from the get go that Parker Bone kind of had the nut, using that purple hammer. Uh,
Well, I mean, you also had 2 lefties in the top five, and the lefty was leading.
yeah,
So
Troy Lynn. Yep.
you know,
So
not and I'm not taking anything away from either one of those guys, but
no,
when I see 2 lefties in the show and one leading, you gotta assume that the left had it, right? I mean,
left had it. And who's better as the PBA 50 when the left has it than Parker Bone? I
well,
mean,
Troy
really,
Lint was this week.
this week. But Parker Bone, when the left has it on the PBA 50, Parker is going to be there 9 times out of 10, right?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. You know,
So Parker ends up beating Brett Angelo 247, 217. Definitely, you can tell that Parker had it. And they interviewed Chris Barnes when he had to bowl the match prior to Parker. And Chris was like, I don't know. Parker looks like he has it, you know, and I don't know if Chris Barnes was being just, you know, kind of like, you know, just being very like humble, like, oh, you know, Parker has it. But that match was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. Chris Barnes he was started out terrible. I think he had like 3 splits in like the first like 5 frames or something crazy like that. And then Parker threw one really bad shot at a really bad time and let Barnes back in it, who then ends up like going like 4 in a row going into the 9th frame something in that where literally Barnes needed, I believe, did he need to strike out, Mike, to win the match?
I don't know. I
You
don't know if
remember?
it was all three or if it was a double and count.
Well, long story short, Chris needed the first one, I know for sure, and he just threw a really bad shot. Just threw a really bad shot when he needed it, and he went dead, I believe, through the face to lose, and Parker ends up bowling Troy Lint for the title, Mike. Lefty on lefty, purple hammer on purple hammer. And I really would have thought Parker was going to win that match.
Well, I mean, what
Like,
a surreal position for a guy like Troy Lint to be in.
yeah.
Right. What a surreal position. Like, he's bowled around my area for a long time, and I've been at a lot of events that he's at, and so he's a guy who's been in the game for a long time, right? And if you've been in the game for a long time and you're a lefty, how are you not a fan of Parker Bone? Right, almost everybody who's been in the game for a long time is a fan of Parker Bone, let alone if you're a lefty.
And imagine Parker, they probably know each other very well because Parker's in your area too, right? So
Yeah, I don't know though, because honestly, like Troy is a guy who, to my knowledge anyway, and I could be wrong about this, but to my knowledge, he didn't have a ton of PBA experience until he started bowling these PBA 50 events. Like Troy, from what I know, was more of like an amateur guy around this area. Maybe bowled a regional here and there. I might have seen his name here and there at some regionals. But definitely somebody that I view more as an amateur. So I don't know how much run-in or contact he would have had with Parker over the years in terms of being in the same events and things of this nature. But yeah, again, like you would imagine that he's probably a fan of the guy, and even if you are quote unquote, familiar with the person and have bowled against them before, to bowl somebody of that stature for a U.S. Open title, overcoming that alone mentally is like a huge hurdle to get over, right? Because you just, it's so surreal. It's got to be so surreal to like have watched this person bowl their whole career, and you follow their whole career and you're a fan of them, and now you're there bowling against them for this major title that you both really want.
I think Parker helped Troy out in a weird way by not being able to strike on that right lane. And Troy, I think Parker needed to kind of jump on him early to really keep the pressure on him from the get-go. And I think Troy got to the point where he understood, or he kind of was like, oh shit, Parker can't figure this right lane out. And it got to the point where
and he bowled good.
He did.
Troy bowled good. I mean,
he did.
Troy threw good shots. So like it wasn't easy for Parker to put him in that position and keep him there, right?
Yeah. So I mean, look, like your first major title to beat Parker Bone as a lefty, beating one of the greatest all-time lefty bowlers in the history of bowling, is definitely something you will never forget. And in his bowling career, I'm sure that this is like, that was it for him, right? Like this is, and I'm happy for him. I don't know Troy. I might have run into him back in the East Coast, but James wants to know, why do lefties only throw the purple hammer? Don't get me started. Don't get me riled up. It's too late for me to get riled up at this point. I mean, look, like, unless you're
in a word, because
pitch black,
because of angles and control. How's that, James? I'll keep it short. Because of angles and control.
And it's the greatest ball ever made.
Might be.
It's the greatest ball ever made. There is no debating it. The purple hammer is the best ball ever made. I mean, just look at what it's done. It's made careers.
But how can you say that when it's not? It's not the winningest ball ever. I'll guarantee you that.
But it's the ball that's influenced the game the most.
All right, but that doesn't make it the greatest ever.
Yes, it does.
Give me the ball that won the most.
It's not
Give
finished
me the
yet.
ball that the
It's
most guys won with.
It's not finished. It's not
Mm.
finished. Its career is still going, Mike. We'll
Well,
have to talk
that's
about
the
it when
one thing. Its career might be infinite, right? Like
exactly.
20 years from now, we're probably going to still see people throwing this ball,
And that's why
right?
it's the greatest ball ever made, Mike.
Well, if that's the case at that time, I will say that. But right now, I can't say that.
Greatest ball ever made. Like it's like LeBron James, Mike. It's the greatest, the GOAT. It's the greatest of all time. Anyway, okay. Let's go. We have some more. We have a good worst of the week. So real quick, I do want to bring up something real quick. The PBA did make a big agreement, which on the front of things looks amazing because they love to publicize these agreements that the PBA love to see them bring in. If you want to call it a sponsorship, I didn't hear it being called a sponsorship. I heard it being called a collaboration. I heard it being called a a partnership, right? But I didn't hear it being called a sponsorship, let alone whatever it is. They're partnering up with a major, at least from my understanding, I don't know a lot about trading cards, Leaf trading cards. They have exclusive rights to produce officially licensed PBA trading cards. Mike, will you be buying Leaf PBA trading cards?
Yeah, I probably will. I think
Will
it's a
you
pretty
be
cool idea.
will you be getting a Bill O'Neill autographed Leaf trading card?
Hopefully, I won't have to buy that one. Hopefully I'll get that one for free. But yeah, no, I think it's something that generally I'll support. I think
You
it's a
know
pretty
why I
cool
like
thing.
this? Do you know why I like this idea? And there's one reason why I like this idea. The only reason why I like this idea. The kids, Mike. Kids love trading cards. When I was a kid, I used to love trading cards. To actually have a trading card and to go to your PBA pro you see at a PBA national event and have them sign it and then put it in like a plastic sleeve and then collect them, I think is amazing for the kids. Now, the adults too, maybe us, maybe we'll collect them. Maybe I'll get, a Tommy Jones autograph card and a Sean Rash autograph card. But mostly for the kids, Mike. I think they should be marketing more towards the under like 15. You know
Yeah,
what
but
I
I
mean?
don't. I think honestly, I think that you might be a little bit off on that because like trading cards today is more dominated by adults and older people than it is
Yeah. See,
by
I don't
kids,
know.
especially
I don't know that.
especially with the cost of some of these cards and boxes. I mean, Rob, it ain't like it was back in the day. Today there's like serious money. Okay.
Remember,
Now
we used to get
I
by
did
Flair
think the
upper
I
deck for
did
like $1.
yeah, I did think the price, $36. I did think that was a little bit much. I
Is that
did.
what it
I'm
is for
not
a
gonna
pack
lie.
of
Yeah.
cards? $36.
No, for one card. For one of these bowling cards, it's $36. Yeah.
Wait, could you pick the one you buy?
Yeah, but well, they only released two so far. It's EJ Tackett and Kyle Troop. And
Wait,
each one was
wow.
$36.
I thought you were gonna see here. I'm thinking you're gonna be able to buy a pack of cards. Maybe a sweep the rack
No.
card would be in there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I don't know if eventually that's what they'll do, and if they, I should read up on that and check that because if they do, I would just buy a box and hopefully put together a whole set. Right? That's what you would hope to do.
thirty
But
six
see,
dollars though for
yeah, but see,
one
Rob,
card.
today these cards they're all about the different inlays that are in the card. Okay, for instance, like a lot of these more sought after cards now, like when you buy a pack of, remember when we would buy a pack of cards, there were insert cards. Okay, well, you sort of have that going on still, but the insert cards are way fancier today than they were back in the day. Okay, for instance, like today they have cards with a piece of the guy's jersey in it. There's a piece of the guy's jersey inlaid into the card. They have cards that have a sticker signature on them, right? That's what these cards are. Like the pros sign a sticker and then the card company puts the sticker onto the card. Okay. There's other cards that have an actual signature on the card. That's more valuable.
Of course.
These cards today are numbered. So like you could pull a card out of a pack that's a one of one. You pull a card that's a 1 of 1, that's going to have the most value for that player for that particular card. So, yeah, I would like to pick them up. I got to do a little bit more research on like how they're making them available. But yeah, it's not like it used to be back in the day, where you just go and buy a pack of cards and hopefully you get a good one or get the guy you want. No, it's more like you go out and you buy these specific cards or look for these specific cards, or you're buying boxes of the cards and you're hoping to hit on maybe 1 or 2 really good ones. But
Okay,
yeah, I find it interesting. I think that if anything, it's like it's bowling getting on more even footing with some of the other sports.
Look, I don't mind it. Like I said, I think it's whatever. It seems like it's a good idea. I'm not gonna hate on anything when it comes to like this kind of stuff. Like I always talk about how the players need to be marketed better. So
Yeah, they could inlay. Jimmy's saying they could inlay the pros' chamois and towels. It would actually have their sweat on it. You could have a DNA tested or something.
Maybe you could actually get maybe you could actually win the towel that was on Pete Weber's bowling ball that Belmonte had.
Yeah, Brian mentioned that you could buy them off the website. No, I'm aware of that. I'm just saying, like, are they only? What I want to find out is, are they only releasing them individually, or are they eventually going to release like a whole, box or pack set where you can buy a bunch of them at one time? Because that would kind of influence how I might want to go about trying to collect them. But yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. I just think, like, how is Belmo not the first release there?
I don't know.
How is Belmo not the first release?
That is a good question.
Yeesh.
All right, Mike. Well, I think we need to get to our worst of the week because I feel like me and you, this is going to be a very unique worst of the week. So I'm going to give it to the people, and then we're going to get into it.
Let's do it.
All right, Mike. Buckle your helmets, people. Strap up your boots.
Shut the podcast off if you want to. If you're CBD and if you're CDB and you're listening to this, shut the podcast off at this point.
If you have you have kids in the car right now and they're under the age of 18, or they are too young to be listening to love scandals and love triangles and all kinds of Jerry Springer type Dr. Phil shit, then you might want to shut this off or put it on mute or shut off and then wait till you get home to listen to it, because
you shouldn't be listening to this to kids in the car anyway with the foul language Rob uses on the podcast.
I just drop an F-bomb every once in a while. It's all good, man. People, they appreciate the F-bomb when I'm trying to make a point. Anyway.
All right, so everybody's heard the story already.
If you haven't heard the story, you're living under a rock.
There cannot be anybody listening to this podcast who has not heard this story. It's impossible. If you listen to this podcast, you heard this story already.
Yo, I wish I could have made a meme when I read this story. I was like literally dancing. I was doing the robot. I was like, yo, this is it. This is the story I've been waiting for. Love it. I love a good love triangle, love story. Scandals and backstabbing and all the ingredients to make a great Netflix drama. Anyway, Mike, Stephen F. Austin,
Stephen F. Austin State University assistant bowling coach. His wife is the head coach, and my man gets fired for having a relationship, a consensual relationship, but a relationship nonetheless, an extramarital affair with one of the players on the team. And listen, we're not talking about some barely known college bowling program off in the middle of nowhere. We're talking about a college bowling program that has won 2 national titles in the last few years. So this is a big time program. This is a winning program, a national championship level program, and real drama here because the assistant coach, who's married to the head coach, was having an affair with one of the players on the team.
And well, that's a crazy dynamic. First off, because your wife is.
What were those road trips like, son? I mean, goodness gracious.
Look, I'm not going to say that I didn't ever know about when I was bowling college of a athlete sleeping with the head coach, because I did know about one instance in one team that was happening, which I won't get into that. But this is it's not the first time. This isn't going to be the last time this happened. The problem with the whole story was there's a few really bad issues here. One, him being married, right, especially to the head coach, right? Two, as a head coach or an assistant coach, that is a huge no-no. That is like, a student. That is a huge no-no. Look, it doesn't have to be a law for it to be a no-no. Okay, that is a unwritten rule. If you're Mike, you're a teacher, right? If you're a professor of a university, if you're a head coach of a sports team, that is a huge no-no to sleep with any of your student athletes in general. You should never ever do that. Be smarter than that. You're an idiot, first off, for even doing it. And on top of that, cheating on your wife. And on top of that, your wife being the head coach. And this idiot, right? This dumb mother effer, right? Decides that he's going to do an interview and says the most dumbest, ignorant shit you could ever imagine, right? Like,
all right, can we review?
Go for it.
Okay, so let's see. Here's one of his quotes. I knew it was kind of a no-no, but there's not a rule saying it can't happen. Okay, you just touched on that, right? There's not a law saying I'm going to jail for doing something like this. There's nothing in stone. I guess it's just an ethics code. Like, we frown upon it, but there's no rule. There's no law broken. Okay, hold on. I'm going to keep going. There's a couple more quotes here.
This kid's got to be the dumbest kid ever.
Steve said the affair was discovered when Amber saw a text message from the student athlete on his phone. It didn't have anything in detail, Steve said of the text. It was just about how amazing I am, basically, in a general perspective. Like, even when this guy is explaining to the local media outlet how he got caught cheating on his wife, the head coach, with one of the players, he's trying to prop himself up. He's trying to talk about what a great guy he is.
Great dude.
The way I got caught was that, my wife found the text from my student mistress talking about how great a guy
I was.
It's so amazing. God. The women in my life, they text me random texts to tell me generally how amazing I am. Oh my God. Oh, this is too good. So then he goes off on this tangent in the interview. And I'll read some of the quotes. I was the stay-at-home dad for 5 years with the kids, while Amber got to go off and coach the team. And when she
living her dream, living her dream.
Yeah, it's called a job. Nope, it's called a job.
She's away from home, living her dream of being a head bowling coach.
And when she'd get back, I'd run practices on top of taking care of the kids while she was back. Lemke said. When they'd travel again, I would sit back and take care of the kids. Then when I got hired on, she almost forced me to run practices. I was a volunteer the entire time before that, trying to help out Amber. Once I got hired on, one thing stemmed from another. I felt like I was doing too much for what I was being valued at. So wait a second. So wait a minute. Am I reading this right, that my man is saying that because he didn't feel fully valued and he felt like his wife was asking him to take on too much, his answer to that was to go and have an affair with one of the players on the team? Oh, my goodness.
Dude, okay. There's so much.
Hold on. I'm not done. I'm not
stopping. I'm not stopping.
I got one more. Hold on. Oh,
I'm not stopping.
See. Oh, there was one more. Where was it? Now I can't find it. There was another quote where he talked about how if they weren't so good, if the team wasn't so good, that this wouldn't even be a big deal. That the reason that people are reacting the way they are is because of how much this team has accomplished. I mean, my man, this guy has got to be the most delusional son of a bitch I've ever seen in my life. I mean, my man is just out there. He's out there dying on this hill. He is he is dying on this hill. He don't care. He's defending himself.
Yo,
Okay.
okay, my man was over the marriage. He was over it. Okay, he was over being a coach because he completely, blew up his career and his marriage. And I wouldn't call it a career when you're an assistant head coach, but I called he blew up his job. He blew up his marriage. He was over it both. Okay, because you wouldn't do that if you weren't subconsciously over. And him just even showing zero remorse. You know, what it reminds me of. Look, there's a Seinfeld episode where George sleeps with the woman cleaning his office, and the boss sits him down and says, did you sleep with your cleaning woman? And he says, yeah, was that wrong? Like it literally reminded me of that. Like, wait a sec, like did I do something wrong? Was I in the wrong? Oh my goodness. Anyway, I feel bad for the wife more than I feel bad for anybody in this situation because one, she's probably still wants to keep her job as a head coach.
She's gonna have some awkward conversations at the college bowling events next year.
Dude, if
Oh
she
my
wants,
goodness.
can this girl, this poor girl, can she essentially keep her job as a head coach? Like with all the media this is getting, because this is getting some mainstream media. This isn't just us,
Yeah,
right?
they
A
can't
bowling
fire
podcast.
her. She's untouchable right now.
No,
They
oh,
can't
well, they can't
fire her.
fire her. But I'm just saying, like, Sports Illustrated picked it up. Barstool picked it up. I think ESPN. I saw some ESPN chatter picked it up. Right. These are the major sports networks. Of course, that's the only way bowling is ever going to get into the mainstream media is by some love triangle happening at the college bowling level. God forbid they ever even said anything about Brianna or Troy Lint winning the U.S. Opens. Everybody saw the meme that I made. Always happy to put out a good meme that's actually says a true story about it, because that's the truth of the matter is when it comes to the sport of bowling, ESPN and Barstool have no problems picking up when some love triangle happens, but God forbid they actually report bowling news. But anyway, this poor girl, she has kids. How can she coach? Like, everybody is going to be talking about her. Oh, hey, that's the head coach that was in that, like, where her husband cheated on her and, with one of the student athletes. And, it's just a shitty situation for her.
Wild.
People are asking if this helps the recruiting. Dude, do you think this?
I saw that.
Does this help or hurt their recruiting? I mean, they are getting national exposure, regardless if it's good or bad, about their university being a top university. So, I mean, I guess any publicity is good publicity. I guess I don't know, but
I guess
my man Stephen Lemke, I'm not sure what he's going to be doing, but he ain't going to be working at a university anytime soon.
My man Steve needs to learn the value of a no comment. Okay.
Yeah, why even talk to anybody about it?
Crazy.
Like, you got caught, bro. Like, you got caught. Like, don't do it. Yo, I'm good. Like, I'm out airing my personal life. Like he had zero fucks. He didn't care, Mike. Well, why would she? Why could she lose her job? What did she do wrong? So there's a comment from William. She could lose her job. What?
I mean,
Mike,
anybody could lose their job.
No, for this situation.
I hear you, and I could see. I mean, maybe if they were to say like, "Oh, all this has brought too much bad publicity on the university and on the program," but I got to be honest with you, William. I think that like the school itself would be, sort of risking a lawsuit from her if they were to fire her at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, Mike. Any final? I could talk about that situation for an hour, but I think we did it justice, Mike.
Yeah, William bringing up the rules about safe sport. No, I hear you on that.
What's the rule on safe sport? What did she do that violated the rule?
Safe Sport is basically a program where coaches or people who are going to interact with kids in a sporting setting, like have to go through a training, a verification process, if you will. That yeah, I guess what William is suggesting, like if you've gone through it, perhaps you should be more aware of a situation like this, or more on the lookout, I guess you would say. So perhaps
more
they might
like your
try.
husband cheating on you.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't. Yeah.
Well, I don't. How is she? If she was aware of it, she divorced him.
True.
And
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a very fine line. Yeah, I agree with Vic. It's a very fine line here. Like, could you point to it and say, yeah, there's just cause here in some way? I'm sure you could argue that, but you could also argue the other side as well pretty easily.
Yeah, if she got fired, I would give Stephen A. Austin a bunch of shit for firing her, unless there was some details that I didn't know, right?
Right.
Unless she knew about it and she kept on doing it for months.
See,
and
that's it. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. It's a fine line. Like, if she knew about it and didn't say anything, then yes, clearly there's a problem there. But it doesn't seem to be the case, so there wouldn't be an issue there. But all right, Rob. My final thought this weekend is the same as Nico's. Tour finals this weekend. I'll be watching. I'll be tuning in. I'm off. I got time to chill. I'll definitely be checking out the tour finals this weekend. Maybe even doing a little betting. This weekend, depending on whether it's available or not. I'll definitely be checking that out. So yeah, it's my final thought. Go ahead, Rob. What do you got?
My final thought is the bowling industry lost another giant in the industry. Bill Supper passed away. Bill Supper was a legend in the sport. He was a board of directors of the International Bowling Pro Shops and Instructors Association. He was the executive director. It's the IBPSIA. Bill Supper was all over the industry in his career. He worked for Storm. He worked for, the IBPSIA. He was literally a huge figure in the bowling industry, and I knew Bill. I'd see him. I'd say hello. Usually he'd come around to high rollers and whatnot. Always a really pleasant guy. Once in a while. He'd come around once in a while. He was always a pleasure to be around. So yeah, just my condolences and thoughts go to the Supper family. And it's sad. The bowling family is very small, and when we lose somebody who's always a giant, is always a tough situation. So.
Sport Bowling Productions. Who is this?
He comes around.
Check that out.
Bowling.
I'm gonna have to check that out,
Steven. And that's the bottom line. Because Stone Cold said so, Mike.
Rob, it was a good show. Good, a lot to talk about this week. Had fun tonight. It's always a good laugh. Check us out on social media. He's at Brooklyn Rob 11. I'm at the 215th.
Hey, visit our Etsy store.
Visit our Etsy store. Grab yourself a shirt. I'm working on that sport bowling shirt. I'm going to get that to Rob this weekend. We're going to have that one up there soon.
Man, I had a good one, but he took it away from my design was a good one. But I'm waiting for the redesign from Mike. Yeah, it's essentially his shirt.
I'm taking the lead on that one.
It's his shirt.
Email us, sweeptherack@gmail. Hit us up. And, we'll be back next Thursday. We'll talk to everybody next week.
Yes, sir. Have a good one, guys.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.